I think the trend lines are still out there. I think I'm not sure,
Yeah, they are.
but I
Um,
think they were. I think I turned all the MA crossovers off just to try that for a change, and it seemed to make a difference. But I think with the trend lines being out as well, I don't know whether it's right or not.
yeah, it's the trend lines are still not right. I've been messaging Oliver this morning. Um,
Is he sorting it then? Is he getting? Has he got to him yet?
he, I don't know what the delay is, but he hasn't had a chance to look at it yet.
I think weren't you away last week?
Yeah, I
I was
believe so.
doing
Yeah,
a few days off.
I watched Paul's live on Monday, so he mentioned I think he said he'd been to Perth, which is Australia, isn't it?
Right.
So that would explain why I haven't. It's got a little bit behind, I think. But anyway, um,
I was saying to Paul earlier, I watched some of the Euro USD yesterday and just watched it drop and drop and drop and drop yesterday all afternoon.
yeah.
I just didn't know whether to get in or didn't know whether to get in or not.
Um, so Tony's jumping on. I know Helen's away this week, so she won't be watching. I think Paul was planning to get on, but never mind. Hiya, Tony. I'm going to get cracking. Um, we'll share my screen. Um, should be able to see what I've got going on here. What I want is the USB to be behind there. Right, okay, let's see if I can get this working properly. Um, move those out of the way. Right, you should be able to see my MT5 in front of my trading view. Is that correct? Or can you just see my MT5?
GPUSD.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I've got behind the MT5. I'm also trying to show my trading view. So you should be able to see one on top of the other.
Let's have a look.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
I can see the demo account. Yeah, FTMO. That's all I can see.
all right, okay. So I'll stick with that. I'll go back to the old way of doing things. So you can see my MT5, the one with the dark background, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was trying to do, hi Malcolm, what I was trying to do was superimpose the two, but I'm going to leave it for now. I'll just wait till Malcolm comes on. Okay, so I'm just trying to move you guys out of the way. I'm trying to move me out of the way. Right, so basically for the benefit of anybody who hasn't seen this before or anybody who's watching the replay, which is live on YouTube. This is MT5 and this is the Crossfire Trading Assistant. I'll go through basically what I am showing on my screen. So I've got a white vertical line here that's marking, it's actually saying 1459. That's actually 1259. So that it's drawn it 1 minute, and it's about the difference between my computer time and the broker's time. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But basically, that's supposed to be the 1 o'clock vertical line. And then this green one is the 1:15 vertical line. And we're looking at the 1 minute chart. So whereas we used to go on to the 15-minute chart and wait till that candle closed, and then look at the high point and the low point and then look backwards. We're actually looking at 15 1-minute candles. So basically, if let's say that turns out to be the highest point within these 15 minutes, what we want the trend line to do is to look back and find the nearest higher candle. And in this scenario, if I just move that out of the way, I can just move that sideways. In this scenario, it will be looking back and it will be looking at possibly that candle up there, and it will be drawing a trend line across. Now, the trading assistant draws these trend lines automatically. However, there's a little bit of a glitch at the minute. It will be sorted out. And what we have to do is keep referring back to the old style of doing things. But don't let the fact that we have a little bit of a glitch with the trend lines worry you too much. It sometimes makes a big difference, and sometimes it makes no difference at all. But we'll monitor that as we go along. We will be getting a new version of the trading assistant, which will have the proper trend lines on them. So just trying to move this out of the way. Need to start sharing again. Bear with me 1 second. So you should be able to see now my MT5. So those are the first two things to look for: the 1 o'clock line and the 1:15 line. Now we wait until 1:15 before we expect the trend lines to be drawn. The other thing that you can see on my screen is the Wada Atta, and there's another new edition. I'm not sure if you've got this yet, but I've got a later version, and this is like an instant trading panel. So if I wanted to get in for a buy, I would just click on that B for buy. If I wanted to close the buy, I will click on the CB close buy. That will be a sell, and that will be a close and sell. But that would get me in using my preset or predetermined settings. So if I got in by pressing the buy, because I could see the price was going up, it would set my stop loss at my predetermined level. So on GBP USD, I've already determined that my stop loss is going to be 4 pips. And I've already determined that my take profit would give me a 1 to 2. So that will go up to 8 pips. So I don't need to put my stop loss and take profit in, because the trading assistant already knows what I want to risk in each trade, and what I am prepared to, what I want to gain. Just click on that, and I'm going to go back to the 4 screens. Now, these are the 4 pairs that we trade in the afternoon session. As you can see, it says no trading out of session. It will not take any trades until we've got to the 1:15 mark. If I this keeps getting in my way, just give me 1 second. So if I wanted to focus on Euro USD, what I've already also predetermined is how much I'm prepared to lose. So my trade risk on this pair, Euro USD, is limited to 0.5%. That's a half of 1%. And in dollars, that's $500, because I'm trading with a $100,000 account. So my total risk on this pair, I've already told the trading assistant I want it to be 0.5%. And I want my risk to reward to be 1 to 2. So I'm aiming to lose no more than 0.5%, $500. and I'm aiming to gain $1,000 risk reward 1 to 2. And the other thing that I'm conscious of is telling me that in 1 hour and 13 minutes, there's some, I believe that's moderate news. So it's orange flag news rather than red flag news. I believe I've got my settings on high this afternoon. I may have to change that if it doesn't produce a red line showing me high impact news. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen. I'm going to show you the trading view screen. And this is, if I just click on that, I want to be on Euro, USD. Computer's going really slow. Come on. So Euro USD, and this is the way that we used to trade Crossfire. So I'm doing this because I want to be sure, or want to know where the trend line should be, as opposed to where they end up being drawn on my.
Still on the MT5, Richard, on ours.
Sorry, say again.
Still showing MT5 on ours.
All right, okay. Thanks for letting me know. So you should in a minute be able to see my trading view. Somebody just messaged me.
Yeah, that's up now.
Okay, so okay. So if you remember if you've watched me do this before, I draw 2 trend lines. Very roughly, I put a green trend line somewhere above where price is at the minute, and I put a red trend line below where price is at the minute. I wait for that candle there, which is a 1 o'clock candle, to close. So in a few seconds, that'll be closing, and then I'm going to draw the trend lines the old-fashioned way, the way that I used to do. Basically, what I'm seeing is that if I look at the top of the candle as it stands at the minute, and I look left, I can see that the very next candle is slightly higher. So I'm going to put that in place because I'm pretty sure that's not going to move very much. We've now got to 115, so we can place these. It's telling me I've got too many tabs open, so I need to close some tabs. So that is, I've gone to the top of the 1 o'clock and I've looked left, and I can see that that's the nearest higher candle. And if I drag this down to touch the top of the 1 o'clock, I do the same at the bottom. I go to the bottom of the 1 o'clock candle. I look left and I can see that the very next candle is the nearest lower candle. So I just drag that back into place. Make that a bit bigger. Now, just a reminder, so that's touching the bottom of the 1 o'clock and it's touching the top of the green line. The reason I like to be able to see the full day session is that this dashed vertical line indicates the start of today's session. That's actually 10 p.m. last night. That was when the Asian market opened for Tuesday's trading. And the reason I need to be able to see that is if this candle was either the highest point today or the lowest point today, I would simply draw a horizontal line across. So for the minute, I'm just going to leave that there and just try to just just for visual purposes, I tried putting my MT5 superimposed on this, but it didn't seem to work. I'll just try it once more. No, it won't. So basically, I'm looking at a red trend line, which is let's say roughly slightly more than 45 degrees, and that one is slightly more than 45 degrees. So it's quite a steep angle, and I'm going to stop sharing this and go back to have a look at what my training assistant has drawn it as. So, I'm definitely on the same page. I'm on Euro USD. Right, you can see this is the glitch that we've got. We've got the red trend line is looking accurate, but the green trend line needs to be up here somewhere and coming down. But, so what we can do is we can bear in mind that the green trend line needs to start up here and go down at roughly the same angle as that red, or roughly the reverse angle of that red one there. Now, let's work with what I've got on the screen. So don't worry too much about the trend line. This glitch will be sorted out. So basically, when we look at the chart, we ask ourselves, is price either above the green trend line or is it below the red trend line? Now, it's clearly below the red trend line. If the green trend line was placed accurately, it might just be above the green there. So what we're looking for is for price to come down a little bit further, and then it's definitely below the red trend line and definitely below the green trend line. So we should be looking for sells. So as you can see, we're okay because it's telling me, the trading assistant is telling me that it's only looking for a sell signal because we're below the red trend line. So then it starts to look for the next criteria, which is the Heikin-Ashi wave. When we traded, we still sometimes trade up using straightforward forex. If I make the candles into a line, these wave candles, you've got the green Heikin-Ashi wave candle, became a red candle, a red downward facing trend. So we were in there, we were red going down Heikin-Ashis, green going up Heikin-Ashis. Now we're back into red. So that's confirming that we're looking for a sell. And the third thing the trading assistant looks for is a recent MA.
Actually got 3.
So
Definitely got 2.
Sorry, say again. So what we're looking for is for this yellow line, which is the 13 moving average. We're looking for that to cross over the 200, the white line.
It was.
And we prefer that to happen recently. Now, I've got mine set to look for the moving average changeover, crossover in the last 13 candles. So this is clearly outside of my settings. So it won't get me in for a sell just yet. And actually, I'm quite pleased because price has come down, but it's now going back up. If I put the candles on there, you can see that price was coming down, but it's now going back up. So that moving average has kept me out of what would have been a false selling situation. And
that's on 1 minute.
I can say that this is the one component that I am sometimes prepared to override. So if I was below the red trend line, number one, and I had a red wave, recent red wave down, number two, I'm prepared to overlook the the lack of a recent MA crossover, providing the water atta tells me that I should be getting in for a sell. Now, the water atta needs to be, to get in for a sell, it needs to be like this. It needs to be the white line pointing away from the orange line, and it needs the histogram bars
Oh,
to
check
be
that
above
out.
the white line. And at that point, you would have seen, instead of it saying no trade here, you would have seen it say
No trade.
short. And that would have been enough for me to get in. I would have gone in overriding the fact that there hadn't been a recent MA crossover.
That's
But because the water is telling me to keep out, we've only got 2 out of the 4
I
components.
think I got 300 out of that.
So that's how we look at the chart.
Shit.
If you look at the other charts, I'll go back to, let's have a look at GBP USD. That one also hasn't had a recent moving average crossover, but we are below, we're below the red trend line. So we're looking here for a sell. We've got a recent wave change from green to red. So that's 2 components. I could ignore the fact that we haven't got a moving average crossover if the water atta was telling me to get in. And in fact, it is. It's telling me now that this is short. So it's telling me that I'm good to get in for a sell. Now I have a decision to make. Do I want to
What time was that?
wait until all 4 components
10:28.
in play, or do I want to override the fact that we don't have a moving average? Now, let's say I want to override it. Let's me get in there. I'm going to click on that cell, and it's just got me into
10:28.
GBP USD.
10:28.
I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. I wouldn't necessarily get in without that, but if I was trading real money.
10:28.
But this allows me to demonstrate. So it's got me in. There's the point that I got in. The green line shows me my entry point. The red line shows me my take profit target. And the second red line shows me my stop loss target. And in the top corner, you probably might not see it too well because it's a blue against a black background, but it's showing me that I'm 0.9 pips and 1.4 pips ahead, 1.6 pips ahead, 1.7. So it's actually going in my direction. And I have the option of letting it run until it gets down to my take profit.
Or just shy.
Or I can
Just shy.
I'm into a sell.
What's that then, mate?
That one.
Okay. So I can either stay in the trade and let it go down to my take profit, or I can decide to close the trade. So, or if I wish to, I can move my stop loss by dragging that line. So if I click on that line and drag it, I can move my stop loss up. And if I click on this line here, or if I hover on this line here, there we go, I can drag to modify that. So if it seems to be going well in my direction, I can increase my take profit. It's telling me there that on my current take profit, if it gets down to that line there, I will have taken 900 and is it 925 US dollars. So let's, we're doing this for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to leave it to run. I have the option of taking. I could have taken my profits at that point there. But I'm going to leave it to run. I'm going to look at I need to go back to my trading view and just compare these trend lines. So remember, this is round about 45 degrees. That one is completely horizontal. Let's see what I've got on my trading view. So stop sharing this. Go onto my trading view. I want to be on GBP USD. So if I type in the GBP USD,
These dirty.
it's not working properly. Maybe just need to reload that. Yeah, I'm going to reload that. So I'm probably still on Euro US. I need to change it when it catches up. Right. Now on GBP US dollar. What I need to do is draw these lines accurately and compare them with what I've just seen on. So that's the 1 o'clock candle. That's the top of the 1 o'clock. I'm looking left. I need to go up to that one there. Now that's a difference because the green trend line was drawn horizontally, but it should have been drawn up there. I can see why it went over there because that was the nearest higher candle, but we need to be we need to look further back than that. So the actual green trend line is at a slight declining angle, and the bottom there is coming down here. So when we get this split sorted out, you won't need to draw these trend lines. It'll draw the trend lines accurately and automatically. So that's slightly out as well, but let's just, if I can remember that, we've got the green trend line and the red trend line. I'm going to go back and see what we've got there. So they're both slightly out. That should be pointing down, and that should be at a bit more of an angle. But nevertheless, we're still below the red trend line. We've still got a green, sorry, we've got a red downward Heikin-Ashi wave. It changed at that point, so it's recent. We don't have the moving average crossover. It went up to try and crossover, but it didn't manage it. So we have a decision to make. Do we override the moving average crossover? And we go down here to check. Well, when I got in, this what it had was explosion line pointing away from the dead zone and the histogram above the explosion line. So that was correct. So 3 out of the 4 were telling me I should get in for a sell. It's looking positive with 3.7 pips. We're aiming for, on GBP, I'm aiming for 8 pips. So my stop loss that I told the assistant to place is 4 pips on GBP USD. Therefore, I'm risking 0.5%, and I'm trying to make $499, well, $500 roughly. So let's just, and I'm going for a risk reward 1 to 2. So we'll stay in this. If it does manage to get down there, it'll take me out automatically. I don't need to be watching. I can just let it run if I wish to. And I'm going to look at another pair. If I can get this out of the way. So let's look at, which one shall we look at? We'll look at Euro CAD. So let's say that these trend lines are accurate and go through the process. I'm below the red trend line, so I'm thinking sells. That's confirmed here. It's looking for a sell signal. we've had a wave change because it was green back there and then it changed to red. And it's still red. So that's two components. We have a moving average crossover, but for my liking, it's a bit too far back. It needs to be fairly recent. So again, if I'm going to get into a sell, I would need a very positive water atta, and I don't have a positive water atta. In fact, that is now telling me to keep out. That would be the best scenario I could get, where the explosion line is pointing away from the dead zone line and the histogram is above the explosion line. Here it's the opposite, with the explosion line pointing downwards and the histogram isn't above the explosion line. It's not even above the dead zone line. So that is one where I certainly won't get in, whatever I noticed when I went to double check my actual trend line. So I wouldn't get in that one. And if I look at this fourth one, again, just assuming that my trend lines are correct, I'm below the red trend line, so I'm looking for a sell. It's telling me I'm looking for a sell. I've just noticed there's a red. That's telling me there's some high impact news. It's red flag news, and it's at 16:25. So that's my broker's time. So it's actually 2:25. The actual time is 2:25, and I've actually told my trading assistant that when there's red flag news, I've asked it not to get in 5 minutes before the news and not to get in until 5 minutes after the news. You can change those settings. You can make it 10 minutes before, 10 minutes after, 5 minutes before, 10 minutes after, whatever permutation you want. It's up to you. I happen to have settled on 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after. So we're below the red trend line. We're in a wave down.
I can only see your GBP USD chart.
Okay, let me go back. I'm trying to show you GBP card. Let's see what happens now. I've got GBP card. Can you see it?
Yeah, got that.
Okay. So quite a while back, there's quite a few candles there, but there was a change of wave, but there wasn't a moving average crossover. So it went up close to it, but it didn't cross over and then come back down. It stayed below. So I do have the choice of overriding that moving average crossover. But if I was to override that crossover, I would need the water atta to be in my favor, and it definitely isn't. The white line is pointing down, and I need it pointing up, and I need the histogram bars to be above the white line. So that's telling me not to get in, and I won't get in because I've only got 2 out of the 4 components. If I go back and just check the one that we are in, and then I'll go back to the settings and work through the settings. Now it has gone very close to my take profit. It just went down to it. What you'll find is that in order to take you out, it needs to actually cross over and go very slightly below. That's down to your broker spread. So I'm looking for, I've got a stop loss of 4 pips, so I'm looking for a take profit of 8 pips. It's not quite, it's sort of 6.1 at the minute. It needs to go a little bit further down, but everything's pointing in the direction of it doing so. I just need this water atta to be a little bit stronger and above. I tend not to check the water atta once I'm in a trade. There we go, we've just gone below. It didn't quite make it to 8 pips, it's 7.1. I just want a little, there we go, it's just gone down. So there's a blue arrow appeared there. So there's a red arrow, that's where it got me in. There's a blue arrow, that's where it took me out. And I've just made roundabout, in rough numbers, roundabout $900, almost $1,000. Because I was prepared to lose 500, and I wanted to make 1,000. It's showing my percentage profit is currently 0.88%, so just shy of a 1% gain on that trade. Now I'm going to go to my settings and walk through. I'll just have a quick look at what's happening on the pairs. There's nothing going on there. If I look at the water atta, it more or less tells me instantly to keep away from that. That one's telling me to keep away. That's the one I've just made $1,000 on, or just short of 1,000. That one is way below the 200, and we haven't had a crossover. But the water atta is telling me to keep that. This is looking like it might be setting up. If the water atta was a little bit above the white line, however, price is going in the other direction. So we've got time. We can look at the. I'll put it on Euro USD. So Euro US, we've got. I'll just recap what we've got on the screen. We've got the vertical line there, which is 1 o'clock. It's actually showing 1 minute to 3 on this broker's plot, but it's actually intended to be 1 o'clock. The green one's intended to be 1:15. When those candles are all closed, we automatically get the trend lines drawn for us. Right now, we're not getting totally accurate trend lines, but that's something we're sorting out. And then we start taking trades after that 1:15. We start looking for trades, I should say. Because we're below the red trend line, it tells us we're looking for a sell signal. We're looking for a change of wave from green to red, and it happened there. We don't have the moving average crossover because it happened too far in the past. But I could have overridden that if my water atta had been confirming I could get in for a sell, but it didn't. At no time after that green line did it tell me I should get in for a sell. So I'm going to remember there's news coming at, that will be 2:25 our time, and it's red flag apparently. So let's have a look. If I right click on that chart and I go to my expert list, I'm on Euro USD. So if I click on properties, and I've got a whole series of settings that I can adjust to my liking. So just for the benefit of anybody who's new, maybe watching the replay, I always go to the common tab at the top and click on that, and I make sure that this allow algo trading is ticked. If it's not ticked, it won't work. So then I go back to inputs. Now the other way you can check whether your algo trading is working is this box up here. It says algo trading and it's green. If it was red, it wouldn't be connected. Your trading assistant wouldn't be working. And the third way is this little blue here is actually a scholar's hat. And if it was white, it wouldn't be working. So you need a blue scholar's hat in the top right hand corner. If I just try and move this out the way. Okay, so these are the variables that you can set to instruct your assistant what to do when you're not sitting at the chart. So basically, I'm telling the trading assistant to use the risk percentage for lot calculation. If I toggle that, it changes to false, I'm changing it back to true because I want it to use the risk percentage. So I want it to risk 0.5% on this pair, Euro USD, on this trade, on this pair. So I want it to risk 0.5%. Because I've got a $100,000 demo account, I'm actually risking $500. That, by the way, that increases because I've just made nearly $1,000 whilst we were on this call. So the risk amount changes. It was 500, it's now up to 504. But it's still a half of 1%. And I want the risk to reward ratio to be 1 to 2. So I'm risking 0.5% and I'm trying to make 1%. Ignore the entry locks. Stop loss on Euro US, I'm using a 3-pip stop loss. On the other 3 pairs that we look at in the afternoon, I set that to 4-pip stop loss. And my take profit is 6 pips, but that's, even if I made a mistake and even if I change that to something else and put it, say, to 9, it says here R to R override. So my risk to reward is 1 to 2. So it'll always get me out at 1 to 2. So it's actually going to get me out at 6 pips on Euro USD. But remember, we were on one of the other 3 pairs when we took that trade recently, and we were running on a 4-pip stop loss and an 8-pip take profit. You can set your stop loss to whatever you want, but we find on Euro US you can get away with a 3-pip stop loss and slightly more on the other 3 pairs. 36 is just moving. If I take that down, this is that is all about where you want the current candle to be in relation to all of the letters down here. So I've moved mine to 36, just so that it doesn't get hidden by these letters. So that is the gap between the current candle and all of these letters. So I'm going to go back, I right click on the chart, I go to expert list, properties, so that's the 36. I want the trading assistant to send me an alert when it places a trade. You can, if you don't want an alert, you just toggle that false. I like to, you know, I can be in another room and it'll raise the alert. There's an audible sound, and this is a new thing. This is to send push alerts to my mobile when the trade is placed. You have to set that up with your mobile. I'll leave that for now. But if you're away from your computer and you've got access to your mobile, it'll send you an alert to your mobile when it trades, when it enters a trade. That will allow you to modify the trade because you can adjust your stop loss, you can adjust your take profit, you can get out of a trade, you can move your stop loss up and down to break in, whatever you want to do. But that's a new setting that has just recently appeared. The spread filter protection, I've got my maximum spread to 2 pips. So you can see here, my spread is shown as 3 or 4, but that's not 3 or 4 pips. That's 0.3 or 0.4 pips. That would need to be 20. And that means that if the broker spread is more than 2 pips, it won't take a trade. It'll keep me out of the trade. Expert protections. Now, this is, if you remember, on Crossfire, we trade 4 pairs in the afternoon. Now, each of these pairs I've got set to risk 0.5%. If all 4 pairs, if the trading assistant entered a trade in all 4 pairs, that would expose me to 4 times 0.5. So I'd be at risk of losing. If I lost all 4 trades, I would be potentially losing 2%. So I've got a maximum of 2% loss if I lose 2%, it won't take any more trades in this session. And I've got a percentage profit of 6%. In reality, if I'm going for 1 for 2 and I'm risking 2%, then I'm wanting to make a maximum of 4%. But that 2,000, that will be $2,000 loss. This will be $6,000 gain, and you can see those figures over here. When I get to my daily target, it will not take any more trades. Partial close settings, you can use those if you wish. I haven't used them yet. You can set the trading assistant to get you out of a trade and reduce your lot size by whatever percentage you want it to reduce. So you take partial profits, you can move your stop loss to take profit. You can have a trailing stop loss. I haven't used those. New settings, I want it to show the calendar, and I want it to stop trading during the news, and I want it to stop trading 5 minutes before the news, up to 5 minutes after the news, but only when the calendar, when it's red flag news. So if you toggle that, you get a drop down menu. You can change it to moderate. I've got mine set on high. That is today's high impact news at 2:25. So from 2:20 onwards to 2:35, so up to 2:30, it will not enter any new trades. These properties are particular to Crossfire, not to the other trading assistants. I want, if you remember, when I was looking on the trading view chart, I was saying if there were no higher or lower candles in today's session, I would want it to look back as far as the start of today's session, which happens to be 900 candles to the left, and that is 900 candles. I only want it to look 900 candles back. If there's nothing higher or lower, then I want it to draw a horizontal line. Bars forward, the 180 refers to the valid trading bars. So there are 60 bars or 60 candles per hour. I want it to trade for 3 hours. So I've set that to 180. I want it to start trading at 1 o'clock UK time. I'm on British summertime or European summertime. Oliver was saying on Monday that will automatically change when the clocks go back at the end of October, so no need to worry about that. You can ask the trading assistant to take you out of a trade when the smooth Heikin-Ashi changes. So let me just take you back to that one. So if you were in a trade for a sell and you had red Heikin-Ashi candles and your take profit was down here somewhere, but in the meantime, the Heikin-Ashi change from red to green, it would take you out before you reach your stop loss. Sorry. Yeah, if the Heikin-Ashi changes, it takes you out before you stop loss and before you take profit. It saves you some loss, or it reduces your profit. But I've got mine to ignore that. I want it to go all the way. So where did it say that? So Heikin-Ashi settings, you can exit. I've got mine exit on none, so it will go all the way to my take profit or all the way to my stop loss. If you click on that, you get a drop-down menu. You can change that to exit on HA change. So that's Heikin-Ashi change. You can ignore the HMA because Crossfire doesn't take any account of the full moving average. So that doesn't apply. So I leave mine on none. I've got my Akinashi settings at 13. You can increase that if you wish, but that is the period. So that's the. It looks back 13 candles. You've got I've got my Akinashi to look back 20 candles to take into account. So if there's a recent change, and by recent I mean within the last 20 candles, it'll take it into account. There's a setting. There's a setting here which is for FVG. That doesn't apply to Crossfire. You can ignore that, but you do need to change. You need to make sure it's set to false rather than true. And you need those to be set to 0. Otherwise, you'll get an indicator on your screen for the FVG, but your training is totally ignore them. HMA, we don't use the HMA on Crossfire. Across the MA crossover, you will need to be on true, false, true, and you need the MA candle look back to be on 12. That's something that you can change if you're happy to take. I'll just show you what I mean there. So the latest MA crossover was way back here, and that is, if I can get the time on it, if I hover over, that was at 14:36, so that was 12:36 UK time, and it's now 13:53, so that's an hour and 20 minutes ago. In my mind, that's too far back for it to count. I'm looking for an MA crossover within the last 13 candles, so somewhere round about here. I can override that, and I think you just saw me do that to get into that trade. Let's just see what's going on. Right, so this is on Euro US. We're definitely below the red trend line. We're in a red wave down, but we haven't had a recent MA crossover. So I then have to look at the water ATA for a short signal, and it's actually telling me no trade. So that's telling me to keep out. So I've only got 2 confirmations. I need a minimum of 3. I'm prepared to override the moving average not being correct, and I'm not prepared to ignore the other 3. Let me go back to the final settings. So we've already done those. I've got to ignore the HMA, that's the whole moving average. The Crossfire Trading Assistant totally ignores that. You've got 3 moving average values. You've got for the fast one, I've got mine set at 13. For the medium one, I've got it set at 200. And for the slow one, I've also got it at 200. So that means it's only looking for the 13 to cross over the 200. You can totally, if you wish to, you can change this to false and change that to false, and it won't take any account of the MA crossover. So if you feel that you're missing out on certain trades because you're using the MA filter, by all means, feel free to change that to false. You might find that you get more trades, but you might find that you lose some of those trades, or you lose more of those trades. But it's personal choice. If you want to rely purely on the trend lines and the Ikanashi and the water ATA, that's fine. That's entirely up to you. Everything else is straight out the box. I haven't changed anything below those moving averages. And I'll just say one more thing and then I'm going to close. So I've gone through all of my settings. If I again right click, whereas I was looking at the expert list, if you look at your indicated list, it'll tell you what indicators you've got on your screen. So it's telling me that I've got a moving average. I've got two moving averages. If I click on this, double click, I've got a 13 moving average and it's yellow and it's quite thick. That's okay, that's this yellow line. This one should be a 200 and it's white and quite thick. Show pips is this, where it's on 0 pips at the minute and it's showing with a spread and it's doing the countdown to the end of the candle. You can have that in the top left-hand corner, in the bottom left, or in the bottom right, or you can just ignore it altogether and not have it. This one is the Heiken-Ashi, and mine should be set on 13. I've set that to 13. If you want to play around with that, you can change it. I think Paul quite often uses 31. But on Crossfire, I've always used 13. And then the Wada Atta is just, all those values are preset. You can change the colors of the line. So I've got mine set for white and orange and both quite thick. The point I was wanting to make is every time you load your trading assistant onto the MT5, it will potentially add some additional indicators, and you might end up with 2 or 3 smooth Heiken-Ashis, and they'll probably all be the same value, and therefore you'll only see one of them on your screen. But the fact that you've got more than one does actually slow down your computer. So it's good practice to always check that you've only got the settings on your screen that you actually want. Now, the other thing to say about the indicators is that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 indicators on my chart. So I've got the 1, 2 moving averages, I've got the Heiken-Ashi candles, and I've got the Wada Atta. It's absolutely irrelevant to my trading assistant what you have on your chart. Your trading assistant works off your settings only. So if your settings are accurate, it will work even if your indicators are not accurate. So you could have a moving average on your chart. You could have 3 moving averages on your chart. You could have whatever on your chart. It doesn't make any difference to the operation of the trading assistant. Your trading assistant will only rely on your expert list. So that's why it's important for you to get your expert list accurate or to your liking before you start trading. So let's just have a look at the 4 pairs and see if we've got anything. I'm just going to go through the 4 and just say what I see. I'm below the red trend line, so I'm looking for a sell. That's confirmed there. I'm in a red wave down, so that's also confirmed. I don't have a recent MA crossover. The wave change is recent because it changed from green to red there, so that's okay. But the crossover is not okay, and the Wada Atta is definitely not okay. That's going to keep me out. So that was your US. I'll look at the other 3 pairs whilst that's it. I'm below the red trend line, so right, there's something else. Because I took a trade on GBP USD, it got me in there, it got me out there, so I made just shy of $1,000. The trading assistant is saying you've already traded this pair, so I'm not going to trade it again. There is a way that you can overcome that. if you wish. If you can see that there's a trade setting up, for instance, if this water atta had the histogram bars above the explosion line, I might think about getting in for a sell because I'm below the red trend line. I've got a recent wave change. We went from green to red. And if the water atta sets up correctly, I might be prepared to ignore the fact that we haven't had a recent MA crossover. And I might get into a manual trade for a sell by clicking on there. And but it won't, it will let me do it manually, but it won't do it automatically. So we've now got the water atta okay. So let's just go, I can get in for a sell. It's telling me it's just got me in for a sell. There's the entry point. There's my stop loss. If I was trading my own money, I wouldn't have got into this trade because I would be quite happy with the just shy of $1,000 I made earlier. But I'm just trying to prove a point. You can get in by clicking the buy or the sell button and overriding the fact that it's telling you already traded. Now this is a little bit of a pullback. We're down 2.2 pips. I've got a stop loss on this pair of 4 pips. And my take profit is 8 pips. Now, if I'm still in the trade 5 minutes before the news, it'll keep me in the trade. It just won't get me into any new trades. And you can see there's another news item coming along at 3 o'clock. So there's a couple of periods of no trading coming up. As I say, I wouldn't have got into that trade if I'd been trading live, because I would have been quite happy with the $950 or $970 that I've just taken. But I was just trying to demonstrate you can override the trading assistant and get into a trade. If I want to get out of this trade, I can just click the CS, which is close sell, and take a loss, but I may as well stay in. I'm going to look at the other pairs. This one is below the red trend line. It's been in a sell, been in a well, I'll make it bigger. So there's the red trend line, and below the red trend line, what I don't like about it is it's been red for an awful long time. It was green back there, it's been red, and the water atta is telling me it's short. So I could override that one as well, and because the moving average crossover was way back there. But if I wanted to, the water atta is telling me to get into a sell. I'm not going to get in for a sell because I'll wipe out the profit I've already made. But I could, if I wanted to get in for a sell, I could just override and take a sell. But you see, these wave candles are quite strong at the minute, but they've been red for ages. Way too, to me, that's way too long. I prefer a recent wave change and a recent MA crossover change. Let's go back to see. Yeah, we're still 1.9 pips down there. And this is very similar. We haven't had an MA crossover for a long time. The wave changed there to red and it's still red. I prefer not to have such a long red wave pattern. I'd like to see a recent wave change. And you can see this is why, because it pushes down for so long and then it gets into rotation, into consolidation. So if I got into that for a sell, I'd be stuck in a not so good trade. I'm going to go back to look at that one I'm in. It's taken me out. So I was in got me in for a sell. It's taken me out because went back up to my stop loss. So I've lost half. Well, the good thing is I've only lost 0.5%. Whereas in the winning trade that I made previously, I made a full 1%. So I'm still in profit for this afternoon session. And as I say, I wouldn't, if I was trading live, I wouldn't have taken that because I wouldn't have risked, having made $1,000, I wouldn't have wanted to risk that 500. But I was just trying to demonstrate it was possible to override. Okay, so I'm over time. Does anyone have any questions?
You're going to put the new version of the Crossfire and TA, Richard, or is it in there already?
The new version will include the corrected trend lines.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I could give this one out because I think the one that you've all got doesn't have this panel, but I would prefer for the next version I unleash, if you like, to be the most up to date and to have the correct trend lines.
Okay.
I'm hoping to get that pretty soon. So bear with me now. I'm on version 1.08, and I think everybody else is on 1.07. But
Yeah.
all that means is you don't yet have this panel. But as soon as I get it, I shall release it. I've been talking to Oliver this morning, and one or two minor issues, but the main issue is the trend lines just not going correctly, and it needs to be accurate. Okay, so I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to stop sharing, and I shall be back on. Well, hopefully, I shall have some news for you by Thursday. I'll be able to give you all the new one. I'm going to stop sharing, and thanks for jumping